All right, so today we're diving into something a little different, and I gotta say, I'm pretty intrigued by this one. It's called moon reading.
Oh, yeah, moon reading. This is a fascinating program.
Yeah, it is. And, I found it and I thought, this is not your typical, like, newspaper horoscope kind of thing.
Definitely not. What sets moon reading apart is its focus on the moon's position in your birth chart. Like your lunar sign, instead of just relying on your sun sign like most horoscopes do.
Right, so it's digging a little deeper, I guess you could say. So, what's so special about the moon in astrology anyway? I mean, like, I know it controls the tides and werewolves and all, but
Well, in astrology, the moon is all about your inner world. Your emotions, your intuition, your subconscious needs, even the stuff that maybe you haven't fully even realized about yourself.
okay, so it's kind of like a window into the hidden parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm definitely curious to learn more. So what kind of specific insights can a moon reading actually give you? Like, what does it cover?
So moon reading offers several types of readings. Each one focuses on a different aspect.
Okay, lay it on me. I want to hear about these different readings.
So first, you've got the natal moon reading. This one really dives deep into your birth chart. It analyzes your unique lunar sign and how it affects your personality traits, your emotional patterns, the way you tend to approach relationships, even potential career paths. It's like a cosmic blueprint of your inner self.
So it's not like vague predictions. It's really tailored to you.
Yeah,
That's really interesting.
exactly. And then there's the Lunar Return Reading. This one's more like a monthly forecast, helping you navigate the coming month's energy. It's almost like having a sneak peek at the emotional weather patterns up ahead.
Okay, I see how that could be useful. And what was that third type?
Oh, the third one. That's called the Progressed Moon Reading. This one focuses on how your emotional landscape changes and evolves as you move through life. It gives you a long-term perspective showing how your emotional needs and your responses to them might shift and mature as you go through different experiences.
Wow, so our emotions are like on their own journey of self-discovery.
I love that. But we've been saying that moon reading is different from those generic horoscopes we see everywhere. So what exactly makes it so unique? I mean, what sets it apart?
Well, first and foremost, it's that emphasis on your moon sign.
Yeah.
Most astrology you see out there is sun sign astrology. It's very general. You're a Libra, so you must love harmony kind of thing. But moon reading takes it deeper. It shows you the nuances about your emotional core that you wouldn't necessarily get from your sun sign alone.
So it's more complex than just a basic sun sign reading.
Way more complex.
Naturally.
And remember, it's all based on a personalized natal chart. So it takes into account your exact birth date time and even the location where you were born. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Mean reading also integrates numerology.
Wait, numerology, like the whole mystical power of numbers thing. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. I've always kind of been fascinated by that. But before we get too woo-woo, let's talk about who created moon reading. I mean, who are the brains behind this operation? So the program was created by these two astrologers named Jeremy and Brad, and they seem really passionate about this whole thing. They want to make astrology more accessible to people and show them how much they can learn about themselves through their natal moon.
And their background. Are they like legitimate astrologers? Do we know anything about their expertise?
From what I've been able to gather, they have a solid background in astrology and a strong focus on the moon's influence in particular. Now, the source material I've seen doesn't go into a ton of detail about their specific credentials, but the program itself seems to be pretty well regarded.
Okay, that's good to know. Now let's get down to the practical stuff.
Yeah.
How much does this thing actually cost? Is it like a subscription service that's going to drain my bank account, or is it more of a one-time thing?
Actually, it's pretty reasonable and straightforward. They have free mini readings that are about 5 pages long, just to give you a taste of what it's all about. But if you want
Wow.
the full experience, they have paid reports that range from 15 to 25 pages.
Okay, so it sounds pretty accessible. So what's the price range for those paid reports?
As far as I've seen, the paid reports are a one-time fee. No subscriptions or anything like that. Prices range from about $20 to $70, depending on what type of reading you're interested in.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the specifics of moon reading, but I'm always thinking about our listeners. What does all of this actually mean for them? Like, how could this information be relevant to their everyday lives?
That's a great question. It's not just about getting an interesting report, it's about applying this knowledge to your life. And I think one of the biggest benefits is self-awareness. Imagine finally understanding your emotional triggers, your needs, your tendencies, all the things that make you you.
It's like getting a user's manual for your own mind and heart.
Exactly. With that kind of self-awareness, you can navigate challenges more effectively, you can build stronger relationships, and you can start making choices that are aligned with your true self.
So it's about more than just understanding our emotions. It's about using that understanding to make positive changes.
Exactly. It's not about denying your emotions or trying to be someone you're not. It's about embracing who you are at your core and using that as a starting point for growth.
It's like you're saying, hey, moon sign, I see you, I hear you, but I'm the one in control.
That's a great way to put it. It's about owning your emotional experience and not letting it control you.
Okay,
But
so where does moon reading fit into all of this?
moon reading gives you the insights and the roadmap to help you understand your emotional landscape. It's like having a personal guide to navigating your inner world. It helps you pinpoint your emotional strengths and weaknesses so you can play to your strengths and work on the areas that might need a little more attention.
It's like instead of feeling lost in your own emotions, you finally understand the language they're speaking.
Yeah.
You get the why behind the what.
Exactly. Once you have that understanding, you can make conscious choices about how you want to show up in your life. You can decide, okay, this is the kind of person I want to be. These are the relationships I want to nurture. And this is the kind of life I want to create.
Wow, so it's like moon reading empowers you to be the architect of your own emotional well-being. That's powerful.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this whole concept so exciting. It's not just about getting information. It's about using that information as a springboard for personal growth and real transformation.
It's about taking those cosmic insights and integrating them into your everyday life. That's amazing. So we've got these different moon readings that are personalized, and they even incorporate numerology. They offer some potentially life-changing insights into who we are and how we interact with the world. And it definitely sounds like something worth exploring. But I do have one last question, something I'm still wondering about. If our emotional landscape is constantly evolving, like the progressed moon reading suggests, how can understanding our moon sign help us navigate those big life transitions? The times when it feels like everything's changing.
That's a fantastic question. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Life is full of transitions, and those changes can be exciting, but they can also be pretty unsettling.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes it feels like you're on an emotional roller coaster.
And that's totally normal. But that's where understanding your moon sign can be really grounding. Think of it as your emotional home base. The energy you always come back to when you need to recharge and reconnect with yourself.
Okay, so how does that help when I'm, let's say, going through a big career change or moving to a new city?
Well, during those times when you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, you're naturally going to feel more sensitive, more vulnerable. It's like your emotions are on high alert.
I can definitely relate to that. When I moved to a new city a few years ago, it was like I was experiencing the entire spectrum of human emotion in a single day.
That makes sense. It's a natural response.
Mm.
But knowing your moon sign can help you make sense of those feelings. It's like having a map of your emotional terrain so you're not just wandering around in the dark.
I like that analogy.
Well,
So it's not about moon reading making those challenges disappear. It's more about giving you the self-awareness to understand and manage those emotions more effectively.
Exactly. It's about transforming those big, overwhelming feelings into valuable information. Instead of feeling like your emotions are controlling you, you can say, okay, I'm feeling this way because my moon sign is in insert sign here. And this is how I typically react to change. It gives you a sense of control even when things feel chaotic.
I love that. It's like having this internal compass that can guide you through even the toughest times.
Exactly. And remember, it's not just about you either. Understanding the moon signs of the people in your life can help you navigate transitions together. It's about having empathy and compassion for each other's needs during times of change.
Oh, I think that's something we all need a little more of these days. With everything going on in the world, that sense of connection and understanding is so important.
Absolutely. Understanding each other's emotional needs can make a huge difference in how we handle challenges together.
Okay, so if our listeners are intrigued by this whole moon reading thing, where can they go to learn more?
Well, we mentioned earlier that you can find the program on ClickBank. However, to make sure you're getting the most reliable information and to avoid any potential issues, it's always best to go straight to the official moon reading website.
And what's the website address?
It's moonreading.com. Really easy to remember.
Perfect. We'll definitely include that link in the show notes too.
Great idea. And don't forget, they offer a free mini reading, so you can test the waters a bit before you decide to go for the full report.
Love that risk-free cosmic exploration. Speaking of exploration, I have one final thought-provoking question for our listeners to consider as we wrap up this part of our deep dive. We've talked a lot about how our moon sign represents our emotional core. But what if that core isn't fixed? What if we have the ability to evolve and even change our emotional responses over time?
That's such an insightful question.
Yeah.
It challenges this idea that we're stuck with our emotional blueprint forever.
Right. Like, what if we can actually use this knowledge to become the authors of our own emotional stories?
I love that. It's empowering. It speaks to the power of self-awareness to create real change in our lives.
Exactly. It's not about letting our moon sign define us. It's
Hmm.
about using it as a tool for growth and evolution.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And that leads us to a really important question for our listeners to think about as we continue this deep dive. Just how much control do we actually have over our emotional destiny?
It's a really interesting thought, isn't it? Like, we're not just stuck with our emotions. We can
Mm.
actually work with them and shape them over time.
It's kind of like our emotional landscape is more like a garden than a concrete structure. We can
Yeah.
tend to it, we can cultivate it, and we can help it grow in new ways.
I love that analogy. It really captures the essence of what moon reading can offer. It's not just about understanding your emotional patterns. It's about using that understanding to create positive change in your life.
Okay, I'm all about positive change. But how do we actually do that? Like, how do we work with our moon sign to become more emotionally resilient, more self-aware, all that good stuff? Well, the first step, as we've already talked about, is awareness. Once you understand your moon sign's tendencies, its strengths and its challenges, you can start to see those patterns playing out in your life. Let's say, for example, your moon sign is in Aries. Aries is known for its fiery, impulsive energy.
Oh, yeah. I know a few Aries. They definitely bring the heat.
Right. So for someone with an Aries moon, that awareness might look like recognizing when they're reacting impulsively to a situation. Maybe they notice that their gut reaction is to jump right into action before they've really thought things through.
So it's about catching yourself in the moment and saying, hold on there, Aries moon.
Hmm.
Maybe we need to pause and take a breath before we charge into battle.
Exactly. And then it becomes about making a conscious choice to respond differently. It might not be easy at first, especially when you're going against years of ingrained patterns, but with practice, you can start to rewire those automatic responses.
So it's a combination of self-awareness, conscious choice, and good old-fashioned practice. Basically, we're not just puppets to our emotions. We have the power to choose how we respond.
Absolutely. And that's where real transformation can happen. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about understanding your emotional blueprint and using it as a foundation for growth.
It's like you're saying, okay, moon sign, I see you, I acknowledge you, but I'm the one steering this ship.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of your emotional experience and not letting it control you.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So where does moon reading come in with all this?
Moon reading gives you those insights, the roadmap, if you will, to help you understand your emotional landscape. It's like having a personalized guide to your inner world. It helps you identify your emotional strengths and weaknesses so you can really lean into your strengths and work on the areas where you might need a little extra support.
So instead of feeling lost and confused in your own emotions, it's like you finally understand what they're trying to tell you. You get the why behind the what.
Exactly. And once you have that understanding, you can start making conscious choices about how you want to show up in the world. You can decide, this is the kind of person I want to be, these are the types of relationships I want to build, and this is the life I want to create.
It's like moon reading gives you the tools to become the architect of your own emotional well-being.
I love that. That's a great way to put it. And that's what I think is so exciting about this whole idea. It's not just about getting information. It's about using that information as a starting point for personal growth and real transformation.
It's about taking all of that cosmic wisdom and actually integrating it into your daily life.
Exactly. And I think for our listeners, that's a really important takeaway. It's not about becoming some perfect emotionless being. It's about using these insights from moon reading to become a more conscious, compassionate, and empowered version of yourself.
I love that. So it's not about erasing our emotions. It's about understanding them, honoring them, and ultimately using them as a source of strength and wisdom.
Beautifully said. I think that speaks to a deeper truth about what it means to be human. We're not just rational beings, we're also emotional beings. And those emotions, when we understand them and work with them, can actually be our greatest allies.
On that note, I think it's time to wrap up this part of our deep dive into the world of moon reading.
I agree. It's been a really fascinating conversation.
And to our listeners, we hope this has sparked your curiosity and maybe even inspired you to learn more about your own lunar potential.
Absolutely. Remember, this journey of self-discovery is a lifelong process, and moon reading can be a really powerful tool to have along the way.
And for those of you who are ready to embark on that journey, Remember to visit the official website at moonreading.com.
There's a ton of information there, including those free mini readings we mentioned, so you can check it out and see if it resonates with you.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep shining your light. So we've talked a lot about how insightful this moon reading thing can be, but I think it's only fair to acknowledge that some people might be a little hesitant to jump on the astrology bandwagon.
Yeah, for sure. Some folks might think it's all a bit...
Fluffy,
Yeah,
not very scientific.
exactly. Like it's all just a bit of fun, but not something to take too seriously.
Right. So what would you say to those skeptics out there? The people who are like, come on, isn't this all just a bunch of hooey?
I think skepticism is totally understandable. Astrology has often been presented in a very simplistic way, like those daily horoscopes you see in the newspaper. But there's a lot more to it than that. When you really dive in and look beyond the surface level stuff, it can be really profound. I mean, think about it. Astrology's been around for centuries across so many different cultures. There's a depth and a richness to it that I think is worth exploring.
So it's not just about reading your horoscope and then forgetting about it 5 minutes later?
Definitely not. And that's where I think moon reading stands out, with its focus on personalized insights and that deeper understanding of the moon's influence. It goes beyond those general predictions and gives you a more nuanced, individualized approach.
Okay, I see how that could appeal to someone who's maybe a little more skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone who's intrigued but still on the fence, what would you recommend as a good starting point?
Well, one of the great things about moon reading is that it's really accessible. They offer those free mini readings, which are a perfect way to dip your toes in the water without having to commit to anything. It's a chance to see if this whole moon sign thing resonates with you personally.
It's like a little cosmic test drive. I
Yeah.
love that. No pressure,
That's-
just pure exploration.
Exactly. And if you decide you want to dive deeper, you can always go for one of the paid reports.
Right, and those reports offer a ton of information. Like we talked about, everything from personality analysis to relationship compatibility, career insights, guidance for navigating major life transitions.
It's a really comprehensive look at how the moon shows up in your life.
I like that. So it's not just about passively reading a report. It's about taking that information and using it to make positive changes.
Absolutely. It's about empowering yourself to understand your strengths and weaknesses and use that knowledge to create a life that feels truly fulfilling.
It's like saying to the universe, hey, I'm ready to step into my full potential, and I'm going to use this cosmic wisdom to light my way.
I love that. That's a beautiful way to put it. And for our listeners, that's really the key message I hope you take away from this deep dive. It's not about finding all the answers out there in the stars. It's about using those stars as a guide, as inspiration, and as a reminder that you have the power to create the life you want.
And on that empowering note, I think it's time to wrap up our exploration of moon reading.
Yeah, it's been a really fascinating journey.
To all of you listening out there, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and maybe even inspired you to explore your own lunar potential.
Absolutely. Remember, this journey of self-discovery is something we're all on. And moon reading can be a really valuable tool to have along the way.
So if you're feeling even a little bit intrigued, head over to moonreading.com and see what cosmic insights are waiting for you. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep shining your light.